Hey y'all, it's Anne-Marie, BaldGirlWillTravel. In this video, I'm going to share the places in Western Europe that I've visited and really enjoyed. So these are places I'd happily return to again and again, besides Ireland, which I've already talked about, but as you know is my favorite place right now in Western Europe, actually in all of Europe. Then I'll also share the places that I've been that I didn't hate, but I didn't really love them so much that I feel that I would need to return to them. Before we get into that, if you're new here, I want to introduce myself. And if you've been here before, let me reintroduce myself. I'm Anne-Marie. I'm the founder of BaldGirlWillTravel, a space on YouTube where I encourage Black women over age 40 primarily to embrace travel, style, fashion, and frankly, happiness and joy. On this channel, I share my lived experiences traveling the world as a 50-plus-year-old Black woman who believes that style has no expiration date and that travel is the best self-care there is. I'm here to share real information about places I've personally visited, not rumors, not reviews, and that's why I never speak on somewhere I haven't actually been. So if that sounds like your vibe, make sure you like this video, comment, but do so constructively, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you know anytime I drop a video. Now, before we get started, let me set a little bit of ground rules because I know some of you are new here. I know a lot of people watching this video probably weren't following me a month ago. I've had a lot of new subscribers over the last 2 weeks and new followers since my video about the most welcoming and least welcoming places I've been in Europe dropped. I'm glad all of you are here and I thank you for rocking with me and following me and subscribing to my channel. But I want to make a couple things crystal clear. I don't do bullying, trolling, or arguing in my comment section. So if you want to get spicy, you want to body shame, you want to troll, go ahead and unfollow me right now and go somewhere else and do that. Because I block and delete people over here with joy and vigor, and I won't give it another thought after I do it. This is a space that I have created for me to share my lived experience honestly, and I'm not going to debate you about it. If you can't comment respectfully, this is not the place for you. If you can't comment without trying to gaslight me or other people in the comment section, I'm just going to block you, delete you, and never give you another thought. So govern yourselves accordingly. I believe in building community on social media. I don't just do this for clicks or for likes or for monetization. I intend to keep being the same person, direct, straightforward, as I was when I had 2,000 followers, 5,000 followers. Now that there are over 10,000 of you, I'm not going to change. And even when there are 20,000 or 30,000, or dare I say 100,000, I'm still going to be me and I'm not for everybody, and that is okay. But I am not going to tolerate mean girl energy, racism, microaggressions, or gaslighting. If I say something happened to me, it happened. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree. You could feel however you want to feel about it. But I said what I said, and you don't get to question my lived experience. So it's fine if you went to St. Lucia or Italy and you had a wonderful time. I'm happy for you. If you're from St. Lucia or Italy and you don't like what I said about your country, that's okay. But it still happened, and it's still how I feel. And I meant what I said. 10 toes down on it. I'm not here to tell anyone where to go or where not to go, where to spend their money or where not to spend their money. That's your business. I'm just sharing information about places I have been and how I experienced those places. And you can take the information and use it however you want. I have now visited about 43 countries, I think 43 or 44 so far. And my goal is to see as many as I can while my health, my knees, and my eyesight are doing what they're supposed to be doing. I travel as much as I can, and I'll keep inviting other Black women over the age of 40 to come along with me, either virtually or in person, because I want more women who look like me to be out and about in the world, boldly, joyfully, unapologetically. And I know I say Black women over age 40 specifically, and that might make some people feel a type of way. And if that does, then this might not be the place for you. I talk about people who are in my demographic and look like me because not everybody even notices that we exist. And when they do, they don't always treat us with the respect and dignity that we deserve. So I'm talking to Black women over the age of 40. A lot of us have disposable income. We travel, we want to travel, but people act as if travel and style is not for us. And I'm here just to let you know that it is for you, and that you have a right to travel anywhere in the world that you want to, and that you can put on whatever you want to put on. I say, if it feels good, put it on. That's the motto in my life. So, and if you want to go somewhere, go. If you want to go with your friends, go with your friends. If you want to go with a group, go with a group. Or if you want to go by yourself, go by yourself. The most important thing to do is to go, because life is short. This is not a dress rehearsal. Maybe there's something coming after this, or maybe there's not. But I really believe that this life that you have right now, you have a responsibility to yourself to make it the best possible life you can. And I believe that travel has a lot to do with allowing you to have the best possible life that you can. And I believe feeling good about how you look when you walk out the door each day has a lot to do with that. So I say do both unapologetically, and don't let anybody tell you anything about it. That being said, let's now talk about places that I love in Western Europe that I would return to again and again. And I'm being specific about Western Europe because I want to keep, this video from being too long. I will do a separate video and talk about my travels around Eastern Europe, because there are some places in Eastern Europe that I really, really enjoyed as well. But first up on the list in Western Europe is London in the United Kingdom, London, Great Britain. I first went to London in 2017. I took my kiddo there for their 17th birthday. It was a place I always wanted to visit, and I absolutely loved it. And I fell in love with London. We stayed in Westminster area, what was then the Hilton Westminster, and it's now the Westminster Curio Collection Hotel. And it is a hotel I still really enjoy. And I am a Hilton Honors member, so I like staying in Hilton properties, but I really like that hotel. So I think I've stayed there probably 4 out of the 5 times I've been to London, because it's a place that, if you're staying there, you can walk to like all over the historic part of London from there. And I like to walk. London is very walkable, I think. And there are a lot of places that you can get to on foot, as well as it has a really great train system. So I think it's a really easy place to commute and walk, and you don't have to take a taxi or take an Uber. Ubers and taxis are super expensive, and Ubers are quite pricey as well. So I like to stay in Westminster because usually I can walk to most places I want to go. And if not, I can hop on the train, or the tube as they like to call it. London is one of my favorite places because London has so much to do. That first visit, we went to the Westminster Abbey. We walked and went to the London Bridge. We saw the Tower of London. We went to Trafalgar Square. We shopped and went to TK Maxx. We went to the London Zoo. We went and did the Harry Potter tour at the studio that's outside of London. I went to the West End and saw Wicked. I actually saw Wicked in London. I've never seen it in New York. I saw it in London. It was wonderful. I remember that experience because I ended up going to see Wicked on a date with a lovely Italian gentleman that I met in London. And I had 2 tickets to go see Wicked. And the kiddo decided that they did not want to come with me because they want to stay in their hotel room and play video games. So I asked this person if they wanted to come. We ended up meeting at the theater. We enjoyed the show. I had almost front row seats. And then we went out to have drinks after that and got to know each other. And I stayed in touch with him for quite a while. And he was actually from Bari, Italy, which I will talk about later in this video. So that's a good memory that I have of London, is that I got to see Wicked there. And I actually went on a pretty decent date while I was there. London also has a lot of people from India and Africa and the Caribbean because, they colonized lots and lots of countries. So there are a lot of people from the countries they colonized. So you can get really great food. And one of my favorite places to go eat in London is in Brixton. There's a food hall there that I really love because there are all these different places to eat in there. And I've had some of the best Jamaican food that I've had outside of Jamaica in Brixton. I also found this restaurant the first time that I was in London. I went there on my own because the kid wanted to stay in the hotel room and eat Domino's pizza. Don't ask. So I went to this restaurant and they were doing, I believe there was Trinidadian food, and it was very, very good. And I had a wonderful time. That was the first time I ever went to Brixton. However, I want to make a distinction between the food of the diaspora that you can get in London and British food. British food is nasty. I said what I said. The mushy peas, the fish and chips, the English breakfast, I don't want none of it. Keep the British food. Give me the colonized food. Give me the food from all the places that you colonized, but keep the British food. And yes, I know some folks are going to say, oh, you should go to this part of England or that part. Let me tell y'all something. The last time I checked about what was going on in Britain, white folks were over there marching in parades and things that were giving Germany 1933 to 1945, if you know what I'm saying. The Muskrat financed this big march for all the racist white people to come out and march against black and brown people coming into their country and whoever else, immigrants that they don't want in their country. And it was an ugly thing to behold. I'm not trying to end up in a situation where people of color are going places where people of color are being attacked by racists across Britain. Google is your friend. These things are actually happening. So I have no illusions about the rest of Britain. So I am going to stick with London for the time being. I've been to London about 4 or 5 times. I always have a wonderful experience. They've got great museums because, let's be honest, they stole a whole lot of stuff from a whole lot of countries that they colonized, and the jewels and the art and all those things are in the museum. So if you go to the museums in London, you're going to see really fascinating, fabulous things, really beautiful pieces of art, artifacts, etc. London is expensive, though. She is a pricey girl. So when I go, I usually only go for 2 or 3 days at the most at a time. But you can do a lot in 2 or 3 days in London. You can eat good, you can drink good, you can go to really great museums. They got great nightlife. London has all the things. So I enjoy that city very, very much. You know, Londoners can come across as being very conservative because of the accent and everything, but they're actually a lot of fun. And the city is very, very international. So you're going to meet people from everywhere. On one layover where I was staying there for a couple of days on the way home from a business trip, I met up with a friend who I had met in Croatia, which we'll get to. And we went to the World Cup. We went to a World Cup party and we had a blast. I think France won that year. And I even got hit on by a 20-something-year-old Irish young man. But I was like, no, thank you. He was a little too young. But day drinking is my kind of carrying on. It was a day party. I had a ball. London is a fun place. Next up, y'all shouldn't be surprised by the next place on the list, Florence, Italy. I fell in love with Florence when I first visited. Well, actually, the second time I visited in 2017. The first time I visited, it was part of a cruise. And I'll do a separate video about what I think about visiting Europe via cruise ships because I have a lot of thoughts about it. But the second time I got back to Florence was the best time. And the first time I went is when I was like, I really like this place, but I feel like I don't have enough time to see all the things that I want to see. So I kind of told myself then I want to come back here. And 5 years later, I did return to Florence. And as I said, Ireland may be my favorite country in Europe now, but Florence remains my favorite city in the world. I have been to Florence every year since 2017, except 2020. It was closed because of COVID. The first time that I went, not the first time, the second time when I went in 2017, I was with my sister and we just had the best time. I remember we got there like late afternoon and we checked into the hotel and then we walked down the street. And I just remember walking around the corner and the Duomo being right there. And I just had the biggest smile on my face. I was just so happy to be there. Florence is vibrant. It has culture. It has charm. It has food. One of my favorite things to do there is to get up early in the morning around 6 a.m. and just walk. And that was something that I did that time in 2017. I just got up, left my sister, and I just went for a walk. And I walked from our hotel, which was in between the train station and the Duomo area, all the way to Piazza Michelangelo. And if you live in Florence, you know how long a walk that is. But it was so much fun. I walked past the River Arno. I went all the way up those stairs. I stopped in a beautiful garden on the way up the stairs. And then when you get to the piazza, there's a replica of David, Michelangelo's David up there, and you can see the entire city from up there. If you ever go to Florence, I highly recommend that you do that walk and go up there. It can be a bit much, but it's a great, nice morning if you're exercising. I did it for exercise because at that time I was an avid, gym rat, and all the hotels didn't have gyms. So I was constantly trying to figure out ways to get my steps in and get my exercise in. So I went and did that walk probably 3 or 4 mornings. And I finally got my sister to come with me one of those mornings. And she just was like, this is amazing. But you want to do it early in the morning before the buses show up with the cruise ship people and everything. So usually when I do it, I try to do it between 6 and 8. And a lot of times when I'm walking back down, the cruise ship people are coming on the buses. But if you come later than that, then the crowds start. The other tip I would give about Florence is try to avoid going there in the summer. The best times I think to go to Florence is after Labor Day, between September, after Labor Day, and the first 2 or 3 weeks of October. Couple more words about Florence before I move on. You can let me know if you want me to do a separate video about things to do in Florence, because I could talk about Florence forever and ever because it is my favorite city. I visited Bari in August 2023 for about 4 days, and I absolutely loved it. It's a relaxed, friendly city on the Adriatic Sea with wonderful food and very warm and friendly people. Now, you do remember I said that I went out on a date with a gentleman from Italy, and he was from Bari, and it was the first time I'd ever heard of Bari, and he told me how beautiful it was, but he really did understate how beautiful it was because it really is a beautiful place. I would really like to go back because I was only there for a couple of days. I got to do a 1-day tour with a wonderful tour guide, and we drove all around the Bari area. We didn't go to Puglia. We went around Bari, and then I did a separate visit to Puglia and did like a yacht cruise from there. Puglia is breathtakingly beautiful, and of the 2 places, I felt that Puglia felt more touristy, even though there are a lot of tourists visiting both places. But Puglia is very, very pretty. And the sea there is gorgeous. And there are like caves, and there's a restaurant inside of a cave that you can go to. I didn't do that, but you can do that if you want to do that. They're also in Bari, the old ladies that are on the street. I can't remember the name of the street right now, but they're like hand making a specific type of pasta that they make in that area. It's kind of looks like an air. It has a name in Italian that means something air, little air or something like that. I'll put it on the screen. But you can walk through and they'll be making it, and you can buy the pasta, and you can also learn how to make the pasta. I just really enjoyed being there because the people were very friendly. They also had very good pizza in Bari and very good food in Bari. And I went on a tour where we tried foods as well as did a cultural walking experience. That was also a lot of fun. I did a tour almost every day I was there because I wanted to get as many experiences for the 3 days that I was there. But I really enjoyed the tour that I did where I went to about 3 places along the coast. And if I can remember all the places I went, I'll put them on the screen. But it was a wonderful experience. Because my time there was so limited, I would like to go back and visit it again. There's also a town called Lecce, which they say is kind of like a littler version of Florence, that you can also visit by train from Bari. And I was planning to go there, but I ran out of time and I didn't get to go there. I also didn't get to Matera, which they call the White City. So I would like to go back to that area and spend a longer period of time so I can do some other things that I wanted to do while I was there, but ran out of time. It's a lovely, lovely part of Italy, and it's a very, very nice part of Italy. I really enjoyed the food, the people, the entire stay. The next place that I'm going to talk about that I absolutely love and would love to go back to is Taormina and Catania, Sicily. I talked about Sicily before. As I said, it's one of my favorite places, and my first visit to Taormina is part of the reason why I love Sicily as much as I do. So I went to Taormina for the first time in 2021. My late best friend and I met up with a friend from Italy, and another friend came as well. We've all been friends for a really long time. My best friend passed away in 2023. So my memories of that trip are very dear to me because we had such a good time together on that trip. We met up in Florence, and Florence is a place I talk to her about all the time. She finally went and fell in love with Florence as well. But we also went to Sicily, and I had already planned to go to Sicily solo. I was planning to go to Taormina because I had read about Taormina, and people had said that it was just as nice as the Amalfi Coast. They said it was just as nice as the Amalfi Coast. And my friend and I went to the Amalfi Coast. Then we split up. She went back to Florence, and then I headed to Sicily. And I went to Taormina. And I absolutely loved it. And considering that I was just coming off of Positano and Capri, I had something to compare it to. I'll talk about Positano and Capri and the Amalfi Coast in a little while, but I love Taormina. I loved it so much that I took a group of, I think it was 10 of us, 10 Black women over 40, to Taormina last September 2024, and we had a blast. We did all the things that I enjoyed the first time I went to Sicily and first time I went to Taormina, and then some. We did a private yacht cruise. We went to multiple restaurants. We had a multi-course, I think it was 5 or 6 course dinner the last night that was cooked for us on a ship. We couldn't go out because the weather wasn't great, so they had to dock the ship, but we had it on the ship, and there was like a whole crew that cooked this meal for us, and they were just so lovely. We just had the best time. I love Sicilian people, and I love the food. The food was just off the chain for the entire time. The first time I went and the last time. I can eat those, what are those fried rice balls that are stuffed with the meat? I can't remember the name of them right now, but I love those things. I'll put the name on the screen. I ate those things till they were coming out of my ears, especially the first time I went. I think I had one once or twice every single day, and I was in Taormina for about 3 or 4 days, but I loved it. And then I went to Catania on a day trip the first time I was there. I think I went to Catania. No, I went to Catania for 3 days. The first time I went to Catania for 3 days. When I went with the ladies, we did a walking tour of Catania. So I took them there so they could see it. What I love about Catania was it's a city, so it's not like nice and clean and pretty like Taormina. Taormina really it's on the Ionian Sea. You can see Mount Etna across, the sea from there. But it is so beautiful. I think it is just as pretty as the Amalfi Coast, if not prettier, in my opinion. There are ruins there. There are Roman ruins there. The food is amazing. I loved shopping there. People were friendly and nice when you go into the stores. Sometimes in certain places in Italy, that's not always the case. People were just super nice there. So I just enjoyed being there, eating the food, being around the people. The first time I went there, I stayed in an Airbnb and I had a view of the Ionian Sea from my window, and my host was just so lovely and was checking in on me every day to make sure I was having a good time and giving me suggestions of things to do and restaurants to go to. I just had the best time when I went to Taormina, the first time and the second time, and then it was so much fun to take people there and have them enjoy it as much as I enjoyed it. Last words about Taormina and Catania. The reason I love them so much is both cities feel authentically Italian and Sicilian. They're welcoming, they're friendly, they're funny, and they're beautiful people. Sicilian people are beautiful, the men and the women. That's all I'm going to say. The men and the women are lovely people and lovely people to be around. The next place that I absolutely love and would love to go back to and will go back to again and again is Split, Croatia. I went to Split for the first time in 2018 at the advice of one of my well-traveled friends, and I have never, ever stopped thanking her for that. I went with another friend. It was part of a trip to Rome, Split, and Cinque Terre, and we flew into Rome. So Rome really wasn't our destination. We flew into Rome. We had 1 day in Rome, and then we flew from Rome to Split, which is about an hour flight. It's not far. Croatia is like literally right across the way from Florence. And I had a wonderful time. We stayed in a bed and breakfast. Both of us did. She had a wonderful time too, because she's Italian. My friend that I went with, she's Italian American. Her parents were from Naples, came over to the States from Naples, but she's never been to Croatia. She'd never even thought of Croatia. So when I said Split, she wanted to go to Cinque Terre, and we'll get to Cinque Terre later in the video. But I said Split because it had been highly recommended, and she loved it as much as I did. We had a wonderful time. So, Split is a beautiful seaside town. It's very walkable, full of life, great seafood and wine. And at the time that we went there in 2018, they were not yet on the euro, so it was super affordable. Now that Croatia is part of the EU and they are on the euro, it's a bit more expensive, but still very reasonable compared to Italy or France. We stayed near the waterfront at a bed and breakfast the first time that I went there. We went on a cruise to the Blue Caves. We went to Var, and we just had a wonderful time. The people were friendly. The food was delicious. And I also made a friend when I was there, my friend Joyce. We met at a bar at happy hour, and we're still friends. That's one of the nice things about traveling. You make friends. I literally just met up with her this year, and we caught up. The next time I went to Split was for the Yacht Week. That was last year. And while I didn't enjoy the Yacht Week experience itself, it's definitely for people under 30. I love being back in Split and seeing more of Croatia. We sailed around the coast of Croatia for a week on a yacht. I've also been to Dubrovnik. Dubrovnik is very, very nice, but Split is the place that I would love to go back to. The next place on the list is Portugal, Lisbon and Porto. I love Lisbon and Porto. I love Portugal. I finally made it to Portugal in 2022. I went to Lisbon and then I went to Porto. Lisbon is fun. It's beautiful. It's full of history. But Porto is the place that really stole my heart, and I would go back there again and again. It's right on the Douro River. It's famous for its wine. Port gets its name from there. And it is one of the most charming places I've ever visited, with some of the nicest and friendliest people I've ever met. Portugal has an interesting and complex history, and they love to talk about their explorers, not so much about their role in the transatlantic slave trade. So if you want to know the truth about all of Portuguese history, I suggest doing the African Lisbon tour when you are in Lisbon. I highly, highly recommend it. I took a group of 5 women to Portugal earlier this year, and they had the best time. We had a wonderful time together. The food in Porto, to me, is better than the food in Lisbon. Make sure you try the duck rice. It's one of my favorites. Lisbon has lots of restaurants, but for me, Porto wins. I like the food in Porto better. I do not love the food that I've had in Lisbon as much. You know, I am Black and I do like my food to be seasoned. And I did not feel, especially the seafood, that the seafood was what I would like it to taste like. There are restaurants in Lisbon that I have enjoyed. There's one in particular that I really, really like, and I'll try to remember to put it in the description. But for me, I had a better experience relevant to food and then the wine in Porto, and Porto is the place that I love, and I would like to go back there. Like, it's like next time I'm in Europe, I'm going to try to go back to Porto. That's how much I really enjoyed going there. We had a tour, and we had like the best tour guide. He was just so lovely and so sweet and so kind, and just the people that we met in Porto. Everywhere we went to this restaurant, and the owner was just so fun and interesting and funny and just cool. We just had a good time. I just had a good time in both Lisbon and Porto, but especially in Porto. So I highly recommend Porto if you have not been there. If you go to Portugal, don't just go to Lisbon. Make sure you go to Porto as well. You can get on the train and go there so that you have absolutely no excuse not to visit. Now, let's talk about some of the places that I have been. And though I wouldn't say that I hate the places and that I felt that I was mistreated in any of these places, there are places that I don't really feel a desire to return. The first on my list is Paris, France. I have now been to Paris twice. And I will say the first time I went to Paris, I really didn't like it. I felt that a lot of the Parisian people that I interacted with were rude. I didn't particularly like the hotel that I stayed in. It was around the corner from the Eiffel Tower. It was matchbox tiny. I didn't feel the staff was particularly helpful. I saw the police like kind of harassing the little African immigrant men that were trying to sell their little tchotchkes outside the hotel, and maybe they didn't have permits or whatever. But I was like, I didn't think they were abusive, but I just, I didn't like the vibe of it. And I just didn't find the people to be particularly friendly, like when we went out to dinner the first night and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't love Paris the first time I went. I didn't even like it the first time I went. Now, the second time that I went to Paris, I had a better experience. So I enjoy Paris more the second time. So I wouldn't say that I hate Paris. The second time I went, I stayed in a hotel near the Louvre because that's why I wanted to go. It was for my birthday in 2023. I decided to go to London first. Then I took the train. I went over to Paris and I was there for about 2 days or 3 days. I had a much better time. And I think what neighborhood you stay in Paris matters, apparently, because I had a much better time in the neighborhood where the Louvre is and at the hotel. First of all, I loved the hotel. It was the Hotel Louvre Saint-Honoré, I believe. I loved it. The staff was very nice. Not super warm because we are talking about Parisians, but helpful and nice. And I loved my room. And I remember when I got there, the hotel elevator was like a little matchbox. And I was like, oh no, not again. And then I got to my room and my room was massive. The bathroom was huge. I had a cute little terrace that overlooked a garden. Loved where I was staying. Then I went down and walked over to where the Louvre was. I had a 9 a.m. entry the next day, but I wanted to make sure I knew where I was going to go. So I walked and I found it, and there was a guy. The sun was setting. This guy is playing, I think it was a violin. If I can find the video footage, I'll drop it in here. But he was playing, I think, a violin, and the sun is setting, and the glinting off of the pyramid over by the Louvre. It was just a really great moment. And I thought, okay, I see why people like Paris. I get it now. I'm not in love with this place, but I see why people like it. And one of the things my late best friend, she loved Paris. She loved Paris. And so she was always on me about, you need to go back and try it again. You need to go back and try it again. And so she messaged me and told me, you need to go to the Louis Vuitton cafe. And there was Louis Vuitton has a cafe and a restaurant. It's across the street from the La Saint Martin, which is a department store, for those of you who know Paris. And I went there and I had a wonderful time because if you know me, you know I love Louis. Louis is my friend. So I loved going there. They had a whole exhibit dedicated to Virgil Abloh, and they had like the history of several different handbags and a whole exhibit about Louis Vuitton himself and some of his first bags and the scarves. And I just loved it. I loved everything about it. And then I went upstairs to the roof and I ate the most delicious chocolate cake I've ever eaten in my life. It was delicious. It was delicious. It was so good that you want to eat it slow because you don't want it to go away. It was good like that. And then I went across the street to the La Saint Martin and bought myself my first Loewe mini puzzle bag. So it was just a better experience all around in Paris the second time I went there. So I would say that I understand why people like Paris, but it is still not a favorite place of mine. And the only way I would go back, I have a friend who loves to go to Paris, and she and I have talked about going there and doing like a Black Paris tour and staying in the Black Paris part of town and stuff like that. That I think I would enjoy. So I would go back if like a friend wanted to go, or I was on the way to somewhere else and did like a 1-day layover and something like that. But I don't feel like I need to go back and I actually wouldn't mind going back to the Louvre because the Louvre is huge and I feel like I barely scratched the surface of the collection in there, but I saw a lot. I mean, I saw the things that I wanted to see. I had a list of things that I wanted to see in the Louvre, and I got a map. I found out what floor they were on before I got there. I went, had an order in which I did it. I was very organized about it. And I saw the Mona Lisa. I saw there's a sculpture of a hermaphrodite. I don't remember the name of it, but I'll put it on the screen. I really, really wanted to see that. I saw that, and I wanted to see the Winged Victory, which is a piece that was stolen from the ruins of the Parthenon and ended up in the Louvre. When you go to Greece, the Greeks will tell you that it was stolen, but that's a conversation for another video. But I wanted to see the wing. I really wanted to see the Winged Victory, and it's beautiful. It's like a beautiful thing to see. But I did not see much of the Egyptian collection because I didn't have time. And I found out that the Louvre has the second largest collection of Egyptian art besides the museum in Cairo, which I have been to, which is amazing. It was the highlight of just being in Cairo, was being in that museum. That and seeing the Sphinx. But apparently Napoleon went over to Egypt and just took a whole bunch of stuff and brought it back to Paris. Brought it back to France, and it's in the Louvre. So the collection in the Louvre is off the chain when you go in there. So it's definitely worth going to Paris to see the Louvre. Alone, to me, is worth going. I did go to a Nigerian restaurant while I was there, and it was wonderful. And the staff was fun, hilarious. And I met some Americans there. We were just kikiing, cutting up the whole time we were in there. So the second time I went to Paris, I enjoyed it way more than the first time. And so I could see the second time I went why people like it. But I don't feel in any big hurry to go back to Paris. I would have to have a reason to go back to Paris. The next place that I've been to that I enjoyed, but I don't feel any pull or desire to visit again, Munich, Germany. So in 2017, when I went to Europe on a trip with my sister had just started learning German. My sister is a polyglot. She learns languages with a discipline and dexterity that I don't understand. She's an amazing person anyway, but the way that she masters languages is just fascinating to me. But my sister was learning German, and she was already speaking it like conversationally, not perfectly conversationally, but conversationally. And she wanted to speak German in Germany. So since we were going to Europe, I was like, okay, well, let's do a side trip and go to Germany. Well, where do you want to go to Germany? And she said, well, I want to go to the place where they have the castle. And so there's this castle, and I can't pronounce the name, but I'll put it on the screen. And they say that that's the castle that Walt Disney used as a model for, the opening of the Wonderful World of Disney. And you would watch it on TV, and they would have the castle and Tinkerbell and stuff. That castle. And it's not far. It's like a train ride from Munich. So I was like, sure, let's go to Munich. So after we left Paris, we flew to Munich. Y'all, I thought I was going to freeze my badonkadonks off in Munich. We leave Paris where it's like 80 something degrees. It is, after all, July, the end of July when we went, because we were going to be there and spend my birthday while we were there. My birthday is in August. So we left at the end of July, and I was timing it to be in Florence for my birthday, which is what we did. So we go to Munich, and we have to go straight to the store to get scarves, and I had to buy a sweater and layer clothes. I was freezing the whole time I was there because, I don't have any hair, and I catch a cold through my head very easily. So if it's cold outside, I have to cover my head up. I had to go buy a scarf. So even though it was 80 something degrees in Paris, it was about 60 degrees or 65 to 70 degrees in Munich during the day, and cooler than that at night. Now, the things I did enjoy in Munich, I went to a museum there that was really, really nice, and I really enjoyed myself, and the staff was super nice. Munich is very clean, very orderly, and I thought the people there, they aren't particularly warm, but they were nice. And I didn't get the sense that anybody was being less warm to me than they were to each other. It was the first time I went to Aldi was actually when I was in Munich. One of the things that I absolutely loved was going to the Marienplatz, I believe it's called. It's like this center in the middle of the city, and they have this massive cuckoo clock. and it goes off every hour. And it was just amazing to like see it. And one of my big regrets when I went to Munich was that they were selling cuckoo clocks, and I wish I had bought one. But we went to the bear hall that was near there. We walked all around there. But the cuckoo clock, I always remember the cuckoo clock. It was cold and it rained. The second day we were there, we were only there for 3 days. The second day that we were there, it was raining, but we did a bus tour all around the city, which was pretty cool. And we also went to a Mexican restaurant. That was, now that I live in Mexico, I know it was just okay, but it was fine. And I enjoyed Munich overall, but I don't really feel that I have to go back. Oh, and to make a long story short, my sister ended up not feeling well. And so we never did go to the castle. So we went to Munich, but we never went to the castle. But I enjoyed it. And so I don't feel that I need to go back to Munich. But that's not me saying don't go to Munich. I liked it. I think if you're in the area and if you're in Germany, and especially if you want to see that castle, take a day and do a bus tour. I like doing hop on, hop off buses. Some people don't like it, but if I'm somewhere and I don't have a lot of time, and especially if the weather isn't great, get on the hop on, hop off bus and drive around and learn about the place and don't get wet. That's what we did. By the time we got off the bus, it had stopped raining. One thing I will say that I enjoyed about Munich and Germany overall, because I've been through Frankfurt Airport and have stayed overnight in Frankfurt a couple of times, and also the 3 days that we spent in Munich. What I like about Germany, besides the fact that everywhere I've been so far has been quite clean and orderly, is that German people, most of them that I've interacted with, speak English, and they don't make you feel a type of way because you don't speak German. You know, like the way Parisians act, they don't act that way. And I did like that. And I think a lot of them really enjoyed me and my sister because my sister could speak to them in passable German. But I just felt like they were nice and helpful, not warm and cuddly like Portuguese people are or Irish people are, but nice and polite, very polite and helpful if you needed instructions or directions, and they don't make you feel a kind of way because you don't speak German. So I actually would like to go back to Germany, not to Munich, but to Berlin. I've heard really good things about Berlin, and so I would like to visit Berlin because there's a history there and that I would like to explore, and I would just like to visit the city because everyone who's been there has told me that they enjoyed it. Now, the next place that I've been to that I didn't hate, but I don't need to go back to, is the Amalfi Coast in Italy. As I said, back in 2021, my best friend and I went to Positano and together, and then I went on to Capri on my own, and she left and went somewhere else, and I went to Capri. Positano is very pretty, and so was Capri. They were also extremely overpriced, and I felt very touristic. The whole way that Positano is set up is to try to get you to spend as much money as possible while you're there, and to make you walk through touristy areas where people are trying to sell you stuff, and there's one way in and one way out, and everywhere in there is lined with stuff that people are trying to get you to buy. I just didn't like it. And then the place that we stayed had the weirdest bathroom. If I can find a video of it, I'll put it up there. The sink was in the shower. It was a weird bathroom. I have to show you a video. It was a weird bathroom. I remember my best friend going in there, and then she was like, go in that bathroom and tell me what's wrong with it. And I went in there, and I'm standing in there, and I was like, wait a minute. Is the shower and the sink in the same thing? And I was like, we gonna get electrocuted inside the shower. It was crazy. It was crazy. Now, it had a lovely terrace that you could see, beautiful views and stuff, but that bathroom was ridiculous. And then, of course, Capri. Capri, the place where I paid $12 euros for a small can of Coca-Cola Zero on the square. When I got off the ferry, because I took, you take a ferry, took a ferry from Positano to get to Capri. And so let me back up. So to get to Positano, we took the train to Naples from Florence, and then we had this guy drive us from Naples to Positano. And then from Positano, I took a ferry to Capri. And I enjoyed Capri more than Positano. It's beautiful. I'm not going to lie. I took a boat cruise. It's lovely. But when I tell you they shake your pockets for the entire time you're there, that place is for people with money, that place is for people with money. And that's why I say if your money is not long as hell like Magic Johnson and people that like to go there and put their yachts off the coast of Capri, go to Taormina. Your wallet will thank you. When I tell you them people shook my pockets, I was so glad that I was only there for 3 days, 2 nights and 3 days. I couldn't get off of that damn island fast enough. I ended up spending a day in Sorrento before I went back to I think I went to I think I went to Palermo or somewhere from there. I don't remember, but I ended up back in Florence. Y'all know I love Florence. I always end up back in Florence when I'm in Italy. But I couldn't get out of that place fast enough because I was like, I'm going to be beggared and broke by the time I leave this daggone island. I got to go. I got to get out of here. On my way back from Capri, I went to Sorrento. And from Sorrento, I was going to then get back to Naples and then go from Naples to Florence. And so I had I think it was a train that I was waiting for or something like that to get to Naples. And so I had several hours in Capri. So I left my luggage at the ferry place and I went walking around Sorrento. So I went from Capri to Sorrento, and then from Sorrento I was transferring back to Naples. Then from Naples back to Florence, and then from Florence I flew out of Florence. I liked Sorrento a lot, and I would actually go back to Sorrento. I have absolutely no interest in seeing Capri or Positano again, but I really enjoyed the day that I spent in Sorrento. I remember one little restaurant that I went to, and the owner was just so sweet and so nice to me in the restaurant, and just came and sat with me for a bit and was chatting with me. And he didn't speak a lot of English, but he was very interested in where I was from and how I got there and all of that. And I had a really nice time. I also did some shopping there. I ended up buying a couple linen dresses in Sorrento that I still have because everything was so expensive in Positano that I did not buy. I wanted some linen. You can get really beautiful linen in Italy and in that part of Italy, but I thought the stuff was very overpriced. You also want to make sure that when you buy linen in those places that it's actual Italian linen and that they're not selling you linen made in India and trying to charge you like it was made in Italy. One last place I'm going to mention in Italy that I've been to that was lovely. Nothing negative happened per se. I just didn't enjoy it that much and don't want to go back is Cinque Terre. I went to Cinque Terre and I stayed in, I can't pronounce the name of the place. I'll put it on the screen. This was my friend's idea. She is Italian. She is white. She wanted to go there. We went. I didn't like it. I actually left early. I left her there and went to Lucca in Tuscany. She recommended Lucca, and I did enjoy Lucca. I would actually go back to Lucca. I liked Lucca. And I then, of course, I went to Florence. So I went to Lucca for a day, and then I went to Florence for another day, and then I went back to meet her in Cinque Terre so we could go back, start our trip back home. I didn't like Cinque Terre. I'm going to tell you why. I thought I was going to lose my knees in that damn place. She rented an Airbnb that we had to go up almost 60, 70 steps to get to. Now, the view was outstanding from there, but we had to climb them damn steps twice a day. And I told her, when we come back up these steps, don't ask me about going back outside. So I was like, we go out once and we come back once. I can't take it on these steps. We were supposed to be there for a week. I had to leave. I couldn't take it. I didn't like it. It's pretty, but ain't nobody trying to climb all them damn stairs. And every single one of them towns, I think we went over, you have to go on a train. It's the 5 towns. That's what Cinque Terre literally means. And they're connected by a train. And every town to me seemed worse than the other when it came to the hills and the steps. And I was like, I don't like this. I don't like strain and stress when I'm on vacation. I was like, I don't like this. And it's my fault because she mentioned the place. I didn't even Google the place. I just took her word that it was beautiful. And I didn't ask what made it beautiful. It's all them damn hills and the views from there. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. And I didn't have any problem with the people. The food was fine. Honestly, my girlfriend is an amazing cook, and she shopped and cooked every day dinner for us. And that was one of the highlights of being there, is that she was cooking every day, and she's a fantastic cook, and she's great company. I love hanging out with her. She's one of my best friends. But I told her, I've had enough of this. And she literally said to me, I can tell you're not having a good time. And I told her, yeah, I think I'm going to go to Florence. And she said, oh, why don't you go to Lucca? It's not far from Florence. She had gone there when she was younger, and it was a great suggestion. And I really enjoyed myself. I stayed at a hotel, that a small hotel, boutique hotel, that had a 5-star. I think the chef had 1 star or 2 of those stars, or whatever them stars are. And the food was amazing. They made a reservation for me when I got there. And it was just me at a table. And they treated me like I was the Queen of England. I had a wonderful time in Lucca. And so I definitely would say, if you're in Tuscany, to try to get to Lucca. Don't just go to Florence. There are other places in Tuscany that are lovely as well, and Lucca is one of them. Those are the places in Western Europe that I've loved, and the ones I've been to that I don't really feel like I need to revisit. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Comment, but do so respectfully and constructively. And don't forget to tap the notification bell so you know when I drop another video. Let me know in the comments which of these places you'd like me to do a dedicated video about. I can easily do that. And let me know if you've been to any of these places and what your experience was like. Just remember to be respectful in your comments. Until next time, travel boldly, dress fabulously, and live freely, because travel is the best self-care there is. Thanks for watching. Bye.